paying attention to our time, I'm going to go ahead and call the Monday evening regular city council meeting, Monday, September 23rd to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Barb, will you call the roll, please?
Walton. Bizzard. Bellinger.
Here.
Weiss.
Here.
Rhines.
Here.
Gilroy.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
All right, I am looking for approval of the agenda unless there's any changes that need to be added or amended. Yes.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to add action item F, accept resignation of Councilman Walton from City Council.
All right, thank you.
I'll support that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
And now we need a motion to accept as.
So moved.
All right.
Support.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Now we have an opportunity for audience participation with a maximum of 5 minutes per presentation. All right, moving right along. We have council meeting minutes of September 9th, 2019 that need to be approved.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
No, accounts payable this evening.
I had a chance to review all of the accounts payable, and Corey came in and answered a couple questions for me. So everything looks good. I'd like to make a motion to approve checks 72266 through 72320 in a total of $563,548.83.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Barb, will you call the roll, please?
Weiss.
Yes.
Rhines.
Yes.
Gilroy.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
All right, moving right along, we do have a lengthy action item list, and I don't think they'll take too long, but the first we have is the MML liability and property pool election. This is something that happens every year, and we do have a letter from MML. Any questions regarding this? All right. So it looks like we only have one candidate, so we need to make a motion on if we want to move on that candidate for that.
I'll make a motion to vote for Gene Stegman, who's the incumbent, for the Director of Michigan Municipal League Liability and Property Pool.
All right.
Second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? All right, Barb?
Rhines.
Yes.
Gilroy.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
Weiss.
Yes.
All right. Next item for action is Spicer Engineering Contract Amendment for the Middle Street Parking Lot Project. Corey.
All right, thank you very much. This is a follow-up from our DDA meeting last week. As council's aware, when we have a large contract like this, DDA has to recommend that city council approve it. So this is a change order to our engineering contract on the Middle Street Parking Lot Project. As we explained with the DDA, and we had a number of design changes throughout the last couple months that resulted in significant time being put into that project. And so Spicer has prepared what's called Work Change Directive number 1. It's a total contract amendment of $20,000. It is funded in the DDA funds budget. The total budget for the project is $316,000. Given where the bids came in, even after this, we anticipate we'll still have about $20,000 of contingency remaining if we get into any problems with the project, which is slated to start October 7th.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions regarding this? All right.
So I'll make a motion to approve the work change directive number 1 of the Spicer Engineering contract for the Middle Street Parking Lot Project totaling $20,000.
Second.
All right. We had a motion properly seconded. Barb?
Gilroy,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
So we'll just finish the hearing.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to recognize Councilman Bizzard.
The arrival of Councilman
Right.
Bizzard. All right, thank you.
Second.
All right, thanks. Thank you. All right, action item C, we have a resolution to support, to apply for the Ingham County Parks and Trails Millage Grant Program for DDA project, and this is really a cool project. So Corey?
All right, thank you very much. This is another follow-up from our DDA meeting last week. The city has talked about trying to apply for the Ingham County Parks and Trails Millage for a couple of years now. We have two resolutions tonight. This year, Ingham County has prioritized two types of projects. One is a shovel-ready project that could be completed next year. The second is planning and engineering projects or planning for future years. So we have prepared resolutions that would allow the city to apply for both types of projects. The first, which is before you right now, is for the installation of a parking lot to support the river trail amenities on the Red Cedar River at what's called the old car wash site. This is basically the last parcel before the bridge on the north side of Grand River. It's been thought of as a site for this type of use for many years now. It is at least partially in the floodplain, which would make it difficult for redevelopment. And so I think that's one of the reasons why the plans over the years have always thought of some type of public use happening here. Ingham County's grant application this year, the shovel-ready piece is projects up to $125,000. The estimate for the concept that you see there with engineering is about $127,000. So we believe this project would fit nicely into that mold. That said, we've put in a contribution of $25,000 from the DDA that would come from the DDA fund. That fund would be positioned to support the project. The DDA in their prioritization activity earlier this year, parking lots and parking was not the number one thing on the list. And other amenities that attract people to downtown, I can't exactly remember where it was, but that was certainly something that was highlighted as well. And so this is the type of project that if not for a grant would likely not happen. And we think that the tie-in with the park system as well as Williamston Township received one of these grants last year to do a river cleanup, a clearing of log jams, basically downstream from here. And so we believe that this kind of all fits together with some of those projects. So this is a request to support the grant application. The DDA passed us basically the same resolution committing to match in the event that we're successful for that. So I'll take any questions on that.
I see the DDA is submitting the grant and the matching funds. Let's say we get the grant, this is all built. Who would then be responsible for future maintenance, snow removal, landscaping, all that? Would that be the DDA or is that the city?
That's a part of the DDA
Yeah.
footprint, so it would be DDA, and DDA would budget that. And then you guys would figure out fund transfer for DPW's time.
Was the river walk, the wooden river walk, was that a DDA project or was that a city project?
That's DDA as well, that was funded through DEQ money, I think, when they built the rapids, and we are slated for 2021 for money to refurbish that, and then as you remember, Earl Wolf, Howard Dahlstrom, they were all working on the extension of the walking path behind all of the businesses on North Grand River. I think there's still 3 holdouts for as far as giving up their back parcels. But there's a contingency of how that path could, it could extend, come out to the sidewalk, go back, but this would be a nice tie into that if those 3 ever did decide to give us access to their back property, and we could extend that out, so.
So just trying to make sure I'm totally clear,
this all goes through, everything's built, the DDA is on the hook for
The funding.
all funding, all future maintenance.
Mhm,
It would essentially become a DDA parking lot and
mhm. Yep.
recreation amenity. And so it would be your city staff doing that, but that time would be charged back to the DDA fund.
I think the idea of the parking lot there is great, with the planning commission, site plan reviews. A lot of businesses along that side, the north side of the river there, have utilized the parking at Deer Creek or Howard Nosman Park. So I
Yep.
think this is long overdue.
Yep, it's a nice addition. And I think there's even space for a future pavilion, should DDA decide that they want to do something like that. So I think it's a nice addition to that end of town. Yes, fantastic idea. Any other questions or discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Tim?
Just to let you know, our office represents Ingham County.
Okay.
And we prepare the agreements for all of these grants. And more specifically, I prepare those agreements.
All right.
And so, just to let you know that it shouldn't be any issue. What we send out is a waiver of conflict letter to be
Okay.
signed by the county controller and the city manager.
Okay,
Similar to what we've done in other contexts, such as the road striping
gotcha.
that we did recently.
All right, thank you for that, Tim, appreciate that. All right, so looking for this to move forward.
I make a motion to approve the resolution in support of applying for the Ingham County Parks and Trails Millage Grant Program for the DDA project.
Thank you,
Support.
thank you.
Do we need to specify location on that or no?
The
It's
resolution.
gonna be the next
All
one.
right.
All right, so we had a motion, we had support. Barb, will you call the roll?
Smith,
Yes.
Bizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy.
Yes. Thank you. And the second piece of this, the next action item is a resolution to support to apply for the Ingham County Parks and Trails Millage Grant Program Planning Engineering Project. So Corey has this secondary.
Yeah, I'll just keep it brief. So this is that second pot of money for planning and engineering costs. As we thought about putting together an application, Memorial Park kept coming to mind, based on some of the efforts that have taken place over there in the last 2 to 3 years. There was a grant application through DNR that wasn't successful due to some issues with the match, because I think it was the city's intent to try to have that be funded completely through either grants and donations and not necessarily from the general fund. So along the way, there's been some contact with former council member Kent Hall from the Operator Engineers Union that's based out of Howell, their training center. And there's an interest there in helping the city do some of the base grading and demolition work that would be needed to get the site ready to be what the vision is for it, which is a trail system. This, we felt like would be a great opportunity to get that at very minimal cost to the city. And so you'll see the resolution's been prepared for a $15,000 grant request, 14,000 of which is an actual grant, and I put in there a $1,000 match from the general fund. There is not a match required, but you do get extra points if you have a match. And so if council didn't desire to put $1,000 toward it, we could amend the resolution. But that is the staff recommendation to try to boost our chances at getting some free money. That would essentially give us a technical grading plan, the survey that would be needed, and that number should help with the permitting, because that also is in the floodplain. And so if we had a situation where there was a volunteer or donated time, material, and equipment to do that work, we would still have to get all the necessary permitting in order to make that happen.
Thank you. Yes, recognize Mr. Hall.
Just briefly, the thing with the local
324.
324, thank you. There are a bunch of heavy equipment operators, there's one. They have talked, the guy that actually handles the planning of a lot of their projects lives right here in Williamston. That's helpful. Unfortunately, they've come into a situation with a strike where he's been on the picket line. Otherwise, he would have been up here with his buddy to start planning this. So, sounds like that's a real definite go. One other thing, because one of the commitments I made was absolutely no state tax dollars if possible. So if we need that $1,000, Stop the Loss Foundation can cover that. All right?
All right,
Thank you.
Real quick, I want to
thank you, yes.
disclose that, I am an operating engineer with Local 324. I went and attended an apprenticeship program there. It's a good program. This opens up a training opportunity for them to bring students out, also get familiar with on-the-job site experience, things like that. And a lot of operators also come back in the winter months or downtime, and that's how they perfect their skills and keep their skills going and learn new things. So
Excellent, thank you.
So it's a win-win situation.
it's a win-win kind of for everybody.
That's awesome.
And then it's also, they do disaster training and stuff out there for first responders and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's a neat facility. If you ever get a chance to go out and take a look, I recommend it. It's right there in Howell off 59.
All right, great, thank you. Any questions regarding this resolution that's opening forward?
Nope, so I'll make a motion to approve the resolution of support to apply for the Ingham County Parks and Trails Village Grant Program for DDA project.
Oh, no, we did DDA, flip it over to your next page.
Hang on. Okay.
There we go. Take
Motion to
two.
approve the resolution to support the plan of Ingham County Parks and Trails Village Grant Program for the Memorial Park Engineering application. There you
Thank you, Noah.
I'll second that one.
go. There you go. And I'll friendly amend the other one. So.
All right, thank you, we have motion, we have a support. Any other discussion? No? All right, Barb?
Smith,
Yes.
Bizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy.
Yes. All right, our next item is Forest of Nottingham Streetlight Request. And we had this on our, in our council packet a couple months ago.
Yes,
So
thank
it's
you.
back.
Yes, so we came to council a few months ago with a discussion item based on the conversations I was having with the HOA Forest of Nottingham. And through a lot of discussion, this is the request that they ultimately came to the city with, which is to install 2 streetlights only, one at each of the entrances just off of Lynn Road. The primary concept behind the request is because they're bus stops. And we did confirm with the bus garage that there are bus stops at both those locations. I think there's certainly some validity to, if you read the letter, as far as the changing nature of those subdivisions. And so their request, the cost from DTE for those 2 is located in that letter. It's about $5,700. And so a 50-50 concept would be a $2,860 expense to the city. The HOA would contract with DTE and own and maintain those lights over the long haul. This has been an interesting one to handle just because, as we talked about a couple months ago, we don't necessarily have a set way that we handle these types of requests. I think they're fairly infrequent. It is fair to say that we pay for streetlights everywhere else in town. We don't have a special assessment district anywhere. And so, you know, that, you have to weigh that against, well, what if every subdivision or every street was requesting streetlights? And so you'll see that, you know, we have a couple options here. When we left the discussion at the last meeting, you know, it was a discussion item, so there was not a motion to create a policy or handle things a certain way. And some of the ideas that were discussed there were, you know, 1, well, should we treat this like everybody else? 2 is, should we wait and try to budget for some of these things? Or 3, you know, don't go there. So there's a couple options available. I would certainly be interested in getting council's sense of the request, and so I can give Forest of Nottingham some direction.
Well, I'll speak a
Go
little
ahead.
freely here. When the subdivisions are normally constructed, isn't that go upon the developer in order to implement the streetlights at that time?
Yeah, so I don't believe there's a requirement that you have to put in streetlights when you do a new development. And that said, this is sort of a legacy development as well, that it was started, I think, in the 90s or early 2000s, and now with this new phase that's going in, it's a unique subdivision that has a combination of public and private streets. And so there's not an easy answer as far as, you know, why there was never something installed, at least at the intersection.
And I mean, I understand the safety concerns and things like that, but I'm also, you know, if they're gonna handle the overhead cost of it after that, I mean, cause I look at what our electric bill is just this month for our street lighting, it's a lot.
Yeah, over $7,000.
Is this money in the budget then?
It is not, yeah, and so you can pay for new street lights out of the street funds, the local and major street funds. And so if this was approved, it would basically be an unbudgeted expense out of those funds.
Sure. Well, and I think the one thing that we need to make sure that planning commission, when new developments happen, is make sure that this is a part of that checklist. So when they do site plan review, so that something like this doesn't get missed in the future, because we do have some developments that are happening, Victory Meadows, and, you know, there's always a potential, for other new builds. So I would definitely want to look at that.
Oh, the checklist.
Yeah, I know the checklist, I'm sorry, John, but that's not your problem anymore, it's cheap. But, moving forward for planning commission, I definitely would like to make sure that's, brought to their attention. Any other comments? Yes.
Sure. I understand the need for safety for the kids at the school buses, but at the same time, going to the fund balance for something that's for a mostly private development, I don't wanna see the city getting into a common practice,
Setting a
like we
precedent.
did with the waiving fees for the park that ultimately had to be rectified. I would not be in support of it this time.
Okay, all right. Any other comments, questions?
The only other comment I would have is that maybe we need to look at a policy and, like you said, implement that into the planning
Yep.
checklist.
Yep, they're definitely moving forward.
From what I'm reading here, are they willing to pay the ongoing costs after splitting this?
Yes.
So they're gonna pay the electric bill for the year on the lights and everything else, right? We pay for the lighting in all the other residential areas of town, like William Street, we don't have a special assessment.
No, we don't.
And
What, Corey, refresh our memory, are there any other private, do any of the HOAs, like Plymouth Landing or Cedar Run or any of those?
I don't believe so,
Okay.
yeah. The only example that I could find is the Riverwood subdivision. In the mid-2000s, there was a project to install like the city-style street lamp there. That was a TIFA 2A project because it's in the TIFA.
On the tip of-
And
okay.
so there was a partnership with the city, despite that being, you know, it is a private subdivision.
Sure, all right.
But that was the only example that I could find in the last 20-so years where there was streetlight,
Right.
you know, policy question.
And I think it was an honest miss when that development was built, but it's been there for a very long time. Now they're coming and asking, and so I do agree with, Councilman Weiss and Councilman Bizzard about this. Dan, go ahead.
I see your guys' point,
Mhm.
but they're asking for 2 streetlights at the entrance to the subdivision, are willing to go half on it and then pay for everything going forward. If they were asking for streetlights throughout the subdivision and us to go half on them, that's a hard no. You know, we pay for streetlights and lighting every other, I guess I don't wanna be spending this money either, but how do we treat these residents differently than everybody else?
Well, it comes up to just like the sidewalks, houses that don't have sidewalks in front of them,
Yeah, it's
you
there
know,
on the
it's
hook
the
for
same
it.
thing.
Mhm.
It's hard to support, I mean, as much as I want to, you know, we set precedents, then who's to say the next subdivision that doesn't have lights comes in and says, well, you did it for them.
Well, you have to take it on a case by case. They're asking for 2 streetlights at the entrance to their sub, and they're willing to go half.
To help protect children getting picked up on buses when it gets dark or dropped off. So that's another aspect that needs to be thought of as well.
I think though that John and the mayor are on the right path. It needs to be a plan commission issue that in the future.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
agree with that.
And ultimately, something that's budgeted for, not just coming out of.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, so we've heard from all council members. Is anybody willing to put this forward for a vote?
I make a motion to deny the request for the 2860 towards the street lamps at the Lynn Road for Nottingham.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
All right, thank you. Any other further discussion on this motion that was put forward? Barb, will you call the roll, please?
Bizzard,
Yes.
Bellinger,
No.
Weiss,
Yes.
Rhines,
No.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we have our last action item, which was the addition of the resignation of Councilmember Welton. As we all know, Councilmember Welton was in the hospital for a short period of time. She did reach out to me this past week. You have the documentation in front of you, that she would be resigning her seat effective September 23rd at the council meeting, which then I did follow up with her and asked would she be able to attend. She did say no. I told her we would abide by her wishes. She does not want any type of proclamation prepared. So that is our last action item for the evening.
I make a motion to accept the resignation of Councilwoman Walton.
All right, thank you. All right, any discussion or comments? All right, yes,
I
Tim.
would just point out then that you've created a vacancy, and under the charter, you have 60 days to fill that vacancy, and it's my understanding that it will only go until the next regular election,
Mhm.
even though her term expires in 2022.
Mhm.
The appointment will only be through the election of 2020,
Mhm.
and then there will be an opening for the remainder of the unexpired term to be voted on at that time.
Okay. All right. Barb, will you call the roll, please?
Bellinger,
Yes.
Weiss,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bizzard.
Yes.
All right. And just to make note, I did have conversation with Councilman Weiss, and because he was the alternate for the NISA board seat, he will continue in that capacity. He will be attending the NISA board meeting, so we talked about making sure that he gets that calendar, so that he has that. And then, once we get a full council, if we need to make a change in a board seat, we can do that, but, so with that being said then, Tim, can we publish that there's a seat available, or do we
Yes.
need to wait until next council meeting?
Oh, no,
We can
it's
publish effective as of today.
The action has been taken.
Okay,
The clock starts now, the 60 days.
excellent,
We don't,
thank you.
you don't need any motions or anything to publish it?
No,
then? Okay.
No. This
And
is,
then I
yeah.
just want to make one other observation, and I would volunteer, or maybe you would, sir, but if he can't now make a meeting,
Yes.
we can't vote, but we at least have somebody representing the meeting.
Yeah.
I tried that once.
Yes, you did try that
Well,
once.
then
And
I will volunteer.
So Councilman Weiss in effect then will be our board representative, and if for some reason he cannot make it, we'll need to create that alternate. So,
The problem was that I wasn't a voting member, so I
Right.
wasn't acknowledged.
right.
I know, but you still go sit in the audience.
Oh, I know.
and keep going and all that stuff, because we had no representation at the last meeting, so.
It is very sad to see Sandy leave council in this manner, and we wish her the best in her recovery. And we will do our best to fill that seat as soon as possible. So the applications are available on the city website. That takes care of all of our action items for this evening. We do not have any discussion items listed. We do have correspondence regarding our joint city and township meeting that will be coming up on Monday, the 30th. And that, I believe, is going to be held in our chambers, Corey? That is an open meeting to the public, and it's an opportunity. We do this once a year where the Williamston Township and the City of Williamston, our board members, come together and discuss what's happening in both locations. We have representatives from NISA, from Rotary, from some of the service organizations, so it's just a nice opportunity for all of us to see what's going on and share information. I'll move right along to department head reports. Corey?
Just two verbal updates. So in the memo that was written before paving happened last week, just wanted to confirm for the public that the asphalt did get done last week on Friday on Mullet and Middle Street. There's a bit more work that has to be done as far as, they're gonna use a new technology to put, concrete around the manholes, the sewer manholes and the storm drains, so it'll be a circle of concrete. So they will be coming through to do that, but as far as the major work is completed, and we expect that, you know, we'll be truing up the contract here in the next couple weeks with MDOT. So that was much needed. We were happy that, you know, we got it done, because we know from the last meeting that there was definitely some frustration with how long the project took, so that was great to see. And then as we round into the last bit of the season for paving, our parking lot project will be starting next week, or at the tail end of next week, for the parking lot behind the hardware, the bistro, the Red Cedar Grill. And so the intent is that that lot will be not open to the public during that time. And so, you know, we have communicated that to all the businesses in that corridor, as well as the two neighbors on the east side. They're expecting it to be about a 35 to 40 day project. That said, when you start getting in October, you can have weather issues. And so, you know, we just need some good vibes, fingers crossed that things will go smoothly.
Right.
We had a really good pre-construction meeting with the contractor, as well as the engineer. And so, you know, there are a couple key things that they needed to be aware of as far as how the commercial properties will interact with that project when it comes to like certain days that deliveries need to get through there, and trash and grease and all those things. And so I feel really good about where we're at. Just asking for everybody's patience and, you know, for the public as well as council, if you shop at any of those stores or visit any of those restaurants, you know, maybe specifically visit them in October, because they'll need it.
Yeah.
The parking lot between the studio shop and
Yes.
the grill, that
Yes.
is all being redone
Yes.
as part of
That's
this
all part of
project.
it.
and
We were able to
public-
annex that.
Public parking as well, correct?
Yes.
Yep. And just to tag onto that, this is a DDA project, so it's funded by DDA, which is fantastic, and that's why we have our DDAs, to make sure that our downtown district is taken care of, and this has been long awaited, so I know it will be very appreciated when it's complete. All right, the moment that, what?
Can you update on the CrossFit renovation, the building down there?
Yeah, so, I was talking with Nate last week. He's looking at for some incentives and things like that. He said it was going well. I think he told me a couple weeks or so, they're hoping to at least have enough to get a CMO. But yeah, they've got a lot going on. They had to put in water and sewer,
Yeah,
and they've
been
changed
busy.
the southern facade quite a bit, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
yep, they've been really busy, you can tell.
I
It's
have one
exciting.
question.
Yes.
I think it was two meetings ago, we authorized emergency funds for a wastewater treatment plant fix. You know,
Yes.
The
Oh,
welders
yeah,
got
this-
in there?
Yeah, the grit chamber repair.
Yes, grit
Yes,
chamber.
as far as I know, that has been completed. I was with Scott when he got a call about it last week, and.
Awesome,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
And our new Vector truck's in service now?
It is, yes,
Alright.
and training on that, and it's in use.
Excellent. Well, I know this is what Don's been waiting for, is his opportunity to let us know what's happening. Do you have a report for us?
Yeah, no report at this time. Everything's smooth, no troubles.
All right, great.
Um,
How's
keep my
Friday night
city safe.
football? How's football so far
Fantastic,
down there?
fantastic. We lost to St. John's last week, but the school is, we always have a reserve officer there watching the school, and I hang out there as much as I can,
Excellent.
and
Good
visit with the
community
students
policing
and-
opportunity.
yeah.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you for being here when she could not be here. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
In our packet, we did have a report from AGS on projects that are happening, and that's always good to see that commercial and residential projects are happening in town. If you ever have any questions regarding that, AGS would be who you would want to contact. Does anybody have a subcommittee report that they would like to share from any meetings that have taken place? No? All right. Audience participation, last opportunity. Kent? Yeah? You're
Why
gonna get
not?
up?
Why not?
You're gonna take the last 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Come on up.
No.
Or stand right there.
Just quickly, I live on Red Cedar Boulevard.
Yes.
It's a private road. we take care of ourselves, and we have good police protection.
Mhm.
Bottom line is, we just had our road resurfaced, and it's the best road in Williamston.
Well, thank you. We
The
appreciate
reason
that.
for it is our road is 19 foot wide.
Mhm.
It's narrow, okay. The company that did it has a piece of equipment that can do a 19-foot
That's why-
pour. So they did one pour of the whole thing, there's no seam in the center. So we're very fortunate, and stop by, take a look, no donuts, no speeding, I'll tell my friend here.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, we're glad to see that that's happening out there. All right, well then I'm gonna go around the table here for council member comments, and I'll start down here with Mr. Rhines.
Alley Fest is this weekend, it's the second annual. I went down last year. Will Long at the studio shop spearheads this, and he did a great job with it last year, and I've been following it online, and it looks like it's gonna be another good year. I just saw today that one of my favorite food trucks, the Shove It Pizza truck, is gonna be there on Saturday. If you don't have anything else going on, stop by, it's always a good time. The other thing is, we're definitely gonna miss Sandy. I've had the pleasure of knowing Sandy for a long time, worked with her on Jubilee for quite a while, and she's had her fingers in a lot of things in town for a long time, worked on a lot of projects, worked on a lot of different things, and helped out the community in a lot of different ways. And it's a sad day to see her have to step down, and I wish her all the best.
Thank you. Steve?
Great turnout for former Chief Leclerc's memorial service last Sunday. It was very good to see so many from the community out there, and a very proper send-off, so.
Excellent. Mr. Bizzard?
Real quick, I will not be able to make the September 30th meeting here. I will be down at the VA in Ann Arbor again.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I
The joint
apologize.
township meeting?
Yep, I apologize for my tardiness, but it's going from one job to another job to, it's that time of the year buttoning up projects, so
Well, we do appreciate that you made it here this evening. Thank you.
obviously I'm gonna go.
Yes, absolutely. We wouldn't think of you wearing anything else, actually. Mr. Bellinger?
Ditto on Sandy.
Mhm.
She's done a lot of things for the community. We go way back to the fire board. That was when it was fire down at the old
Mhm.
building, so she'll be greatly missed. And that's my comments for this evening.
All right. Mr. Weiss?
I echo the comments about Sandy, she'll be missed. Thank you.
All right. It was tough for me to take that call when she said she was in the hospital, and then when she extended to me that she was going to be stepping down, that was tough too, because not on the lonely female at the table. But I really enjoyed having her on my side as Mayor Pro Tem last year. She is a wealth of information regarding this city, having worked in City Hall and back when it was paper pencil and not computers, and she has a lot of knowledge, and that will be greatly missed. And you know, she has a passion for her first responders, NISA, and I hope she can continue that in some capacity. But I would just ask that you all just, you know, think good thoughts and send her a note if you have the ability to do that. I'm sure she would appreciate that. Couple things as far as city. Next week is October 1st, and we all know what October 1st brings, and that's no parking on the streets from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. And that extends through March, because you never know what type of weather Michigan can bring to us in these early fall months, so we do need to adhere to that. Leaf pickup will probably be starting soon. Branch pickup, I think, runs through November. So as you're cleaning up yards in these fall months, please remember that the city does provide those services. Check our website for exact information on those dates. And as it is getting darker, please remember to watch out for you know, pedestrians crossing the street. People are still out walking through town in the parks and everything. So just as the first day of fall, enjoy these next few months as you see the changes out there. And with that, I will go ahead and adjourn our meeting.